Hey, this is Danavan Hylton, enjoying another beautiful day, blessed and fortunate to be alive. We are on our way to Chicago. As you know, we're representing Middle Tennessee in all of our business endeavors, and since then we've started our business 3 years ago. We've been very fortunate to expand into new markets, both domestically and abroad, and surprisingly, planning on, actually it's already in motion, of setting up an office in the UK. And so I say all those things to say, if you know my story, things are moving forward. Been working hard and putting a lot of sweat equity in for a long time. And, it's good to see these seeds coming to harvest. And if they never came to harvest, it didn't matter anyways, because one should not do anything unless their heart is into it. And even though we all say it's about the money, which is the system that we live in, at the same time, the underlying root is it's still about your character, it's still about your integrity. And money is just one way where you can measure that. But it's not the answer to it all as far as money. And so sometimes when it's all said and done, you got to look back and say, what did you actually contribute to the betterment of mankind, to the betterment of earth? And that really falls back into, if you got paid what you did or didn't get paid a dime, would you still be able to get out here in your community, in your market, and still be able to produce resources, whatever that looks like, to get things done? So in this particular case, we're heading to Chicago. We're going to attend the National Policy Summit for Education. I believe the topic of discussion is educational savings accounts, and it's a really big event. I was invited down and fortunate to have the trip paid for. Y'all bear with me, y'all. Fortunate to have the trip paid for, so we're gonna get down here, pass out some business cards, build some relationships, learn and grow in as best we can. Enjoy the opportunity. Shout out to my wife and business partner Malika, who's not in the car with me right now. She will be heading with me to Chicago along with our children. But with all due respect, my wife just lost her sister, her older sister, my sister-in-law, who I call my sister, but it's my sister-in-law, in a car accident a few weeks ago. We just had the service this past weekend, and with all due respect, there's still family in town, to include her father, and so that goes without saying as far as, just taking care of the home front. And so I was surprising her. She didn't know anything about the event. The hotel and everything was booked, reserved, paid for. Malik and the boys and I were all going to just roll down Chicago, drive. I could have flew, but I wanted all of us to roll, so I was going to drive down there. And the changes wasn't even on the radar, and this was already done and confirmed. And unfortunately, we had some unfortunate events. We always celebrate the life of my sister, but because of that, I'm going to go solo. It's another reason I'm bringing this up in regards to, especially if you're a male, easier said than done. But if you're a male, as best you can. That includes me. Keep me in your prayers, y'all. If you can, to make sure you're spending quality and quantity time with your family. So if any time is possible, it's always a good idea to bring your spouse on the business trip, your children. Why? Because it's going to keep you grounded, I feel. And it's not saying that those external things, your spouse and your children, are supposed to keep you in line, but it does help. And you want to keep yourself out of environments, and because you're taking care of business, you want to move forward. And there's, with all due respect, nothing more challenging than to have to recover. But you're still going to move forward. You just got to recover. It takes a little more time. Going to have to recover and then move forward in your business compared to just moving forward. So you want to, tomorrow's not promised. Time waits for no man. So you want to eliminate the risk as much as you can to include your time. The whole point of going into business is to make more money so you can have more time. I mean, that's the greatest commodity one can have, because you can't get it back. You cannot get it back at this point with technology, at least. So we're going to roll to Chicago. We'll capture as much footage as we can, capture as many interviews with professionals as we can, and build as much business as we can, and we'll see what we can do to learn. Let's go ahead and move. All right, guys, we finally made it. About 8-hour drive, but we are here at the Lowe's Hotel in downtown Chicago. And before we move on, I want to make sure we shout out our premier client, Express Employment Professionals Nashville North and Downtown office, run by Jason and Christy Patrick, and they provide local employment for residents and recruiting opportunities for employers in the North Davidson County region. Also want to shout our own personal business, Hylton Elite Marketing Agency. And so just food for thought when you're going out into the world as far as taking care of your business. You want to make sure you represent your brand. Indirectly, I am representing the state of Tennessee in this particular case because I want to see what topic of conversation is going on, and I want to see how that relates to the state that I reside in. Naturally, indirectly, I'll be representing Metro Nashville as well because I want to make sure that I understand what the challenges are within our city. And ultimately representing North Nashville as always. So we're gonna get in here. We don't know what to expect. The bottom line is you have to step outside your comfort zone. Make sure I lock my car. Bottom line is to step outside your comfort zone. And for me to get to this point, I had to step outside my comfort zone because this opportunity, which was given to me as a scholarship, everything paid for, was because I went to an event, built some relationships with some folks, worked consistently and communicated consistently to build a working relationship. And because I want to become educated to help increase the communications within the community I serve, here I am, paid for. So I'm gonna go ahead and check it out. I'm gonna capture as much footage as I can, get as much interviews as I can, and see what we can do. See what we can do to take the information back to Nashville. Let's do it. So my first take here in Chicago looks like a bustling business district, and it commands a lot of respect as far as its private sector. I see a lot of business energy coming from this place here. And we're looking to put our business right dab in the middle of this bad boy. And our firm, as you know, is in the business of helping the public and private sector connect to diverse communities and markets for a number of different reasons, and vice versa. It was very important for our firm to continue to bridge the gap, the communication and relationship management gap for the public and private sector and diverse communities in the areas of business, community, and government relations. So we're here, so exciting, and we'll check it out. So keep in mind, in the game that I play, I deal with a lot of corporations and government agencies. And so my uniform, if you will, requires that traditionally I dress in a corporate attire. I've heard people going as far as the monkey suit, being quite honest. But for me, I do enjoy dressing in a corporate attire. I do enjoy dressing in different culture attire in a professional manner. But ultimately, suits traditionally I get for 99 cents on Wednesdays and Thursdays at the Wednesdays and Sundays at the Goodwill. A lot of thrift stores, and every now and then I might order a suit online. But there are plenty of ways where you can buy a suit for $5 or less, tie for 99 cents, a suit shirt for 99 cents, and get out here and look good to make something happen for yourself if you're in that type of sector or environment. Now, if you're an industrial guy or gal, hard hat, steel toes, your tool belt, that's being dressing professional. But in my game, when I'm communicating and building relationships, I got to make sure that I'm looking the part because this game goes deep. And so now we're going to get out here and make things happen. Let's do it. Danavan Hylton right there. Hylton Elite Marketing Agency and the National Policy Summit. So I got to give a shout out to Shaka Mitchell, who is the Tennessee director for the American Federation for Children, doing an outstanding job, and he pretty much helped coordinate me getting down here, and sharp young man, sharp young professional, and look forward to building a growing relationship with him. So we're in, let's go and check it out. Okay, so let's look at the schedule. We see here on Wednesday with the registration, 4:15, you get the peer consulting and problem solving session. I'm gonna go ahead and jump into that, the networking. We also have the opening reception, opening dinner with keynote speaker Father Gregory Boyle, founder of Homeboy Industries. And tomorrow it's going to be a full day starting at 7 o'clock, as you can see. I might go ahead and get into some exercise, some health and wellness, and just get into some networking. So let's get out here and network a little bit. All right, there we go. All right, so we're back. Beautiful downtown Chicago. Some of the things I've already heard when it comes to funding or grants. Some of the hot topics I've heard already: criminal justice reform, to include juvenile justice reform, school choice. How do we get people from both sectors to come together for the children? And so I'm gonna take my time out if I can, capture as much footage as I can, and talk about what I learned. What I felt grateful for as far as my trip here, and also what is the one thing I'm going to take away from me to apply moving forward. So it's beautiful downtown. Let's check it out. Okay, so as you can see, it's rustling and bustling. I have my badge and my information here. Quick tip: if you're into networking, you want to increase your skills on networking. Right now, we're in a general networking session, and pretty much everybody's just building relationships. The biggest thing you want to keep in mind is you want to know who's the guest speakers before you go to any event. Because you want to connect to the guest speakers, because traditionally, that's mine, sorry. Traditionally, the guest speakers are the one that provide the highest value as far as resources, even though there are other great individuals that you can meet. So traditionally when I come to a networking event, I'm looking to connect with the guest speakers as to why I'm coming to the event, to get their information, to build a relationship. But outside of that, I'm traditionally walking around, passing on my business cards, receiving business cards, and that's all icing on the cake. So ultimately, you want to connect to the guest speakers, but also continue to work the room. Okay, so we are here, getting ready for the conference, and even though we are here at the, we're at the American Federation for Children National Policy Summit, as we just got here today, to learn more about the educational savings accounts. Come to find out that the Governor Bill Lee actually signed the bill today, and from my understanding, the voucher program will be implemented in Nashville and Memphis. I believe the idea is to decrease the concentration of poverty. And again, I'm just a messenger. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm here to get information. And sometimes you got to put yourself in a position to get the information by actually going to the environment. So ultimately, we're here. A lot of the elected officials in those counties, Davidson and Shelby County, feel that why should the pilot program be just limited to Nashville and Memphis? And I can see where they're coming from as well. And so we're going, ironically, I had no idea. I'll put a link down to where you can find out more information of the governor's signing of the bill, and we'll continue to move on. Let's do it. All right, so we're getting ready to eat. I have the stage is right behind me here. It's facing me, guys. The stage is right behind me. Thank you so much. So one of the tips that I have when it comes to networking, if you can, if the seats aren't reserved, come to the very front. Because when you put yourself in the front, while everybody, it's just a business tip. While everybody's in the back, they're thinking that you are someone that's a mover and shaker of these parts, and you can not only attract business from the back, but you're also going to connect with the folks in the front that traditionally sit at the front for a purpose. You'll find out a lot of people don't like to sit in the front, either in school or at church. So when you come to the front, that's where all the action is. So keep those things in mind as you're networking.
Welcome to the 2019 AFC Summit.
All right.
I don't know what I would do without the voucher program because it's been so beneficial in my life.
School choice came into my life. It definitely made an impact.
Choice program helped shape who I am.
It's exciting helping somebody out there that they know they can do better and they don't have to settle for
this 4-year university.
Jacob, thank you so much, and thank you for sharing your story with us. And we are excited that you are a real advocate for all that we are working on.
It was an exciting day in the state of Tennessee today. This morning, the House passed a conference bill approving an education savings account for Tennessee for 15,000 kids in Nashville and Memphis. A couple of hours later, the state Senate did the same thing. So we have, after fighting for this for about 7 years, and thanks to the leadership of the American Federation for Children, we now have school choice in Tennessee, and we're excited about it. Thanks to all of you who helped, supported us, provided moral support, financial support, every other kind of support. We're very grateful to Bill. Thanks for saying hello.
As I said, that is what perseverance is all about in this work, and that we will prevail. So thanks again for being here. I hope you enjoy the summit.
All right, so we have Mr. Orbendorf back there, chairman of the American Federation for Children. We got the best seat in the house, front row right there, and we got everybody behind us. So build relationships, get out there outside your comfort zone, network, and bridge gaps if you can. That's the only way you can create true value, because there's opposition on both sides all day. But the person that can bridge gaps and help increase the communication is the one that's going to win. Keep that in mind.
So it's a privilege of my life for 31 years to have worked with gang members, and the day will never come when I have more courage. The day will never come when I have more courage, or I am more noble, or I'm closer to God than they are. Homies like Hector, 17 years old, who was finally back in school, a sharp kid who was kind of an elementary school dropout. Now he works part-time at Homeboy and is in school. And he came into my office, was sitting in front of the desk, and he was trying his hand at small talk, and he said, oh, by the way, I ran into a man who attended one of your talks once. And I said, really? And he said, yeah. He said your talk was rather monotonous. My gosh, really? He did say that? Well, actually, no, he didn't say that. But I need practice using bigger words.
So before I shut it down for the conclusion of the first night of the National Policy Summit 2019 for the American Federation for Children, beautiful city, beautiful downtown, very electrifying, very motivating in a lot of ways. Huge shout out to Shaka for inviting me down. Huge shout out to Joseph Williams for connecting me to Shaka. And it's been an awesome blessing and opportunity. And the biggest thing that I want to take from this experience is education and communication. Ironically, I didn't know that today was the big day for the bill to pass about school choice, particularly in Metro Nashville and Memphis, which are the two markets that I do business in. I didn't know that. And so the fact that I'm here and people may be for it or against it, it's important that parents become more aware, especially in Nashville, about the changing climates of education. If you don't know that, I'm telling you now out of respect. Huge shout out to Kenyatta Tidwell. She's in the Bordeaux area of Nashville. She does an outstanding job of overseeing the PTA for Bordeaux and really almost the PTA for Nashville. Very passionate about education. And those are the type of organizations and people you need to connect with to stay up to date. If you're for the opportunity, you need to make sure that you're stating why. If you're not for it, make sure you're stating why. But I'm going to give you as much information as I can about the opportunity and experience. I'll read you some of the recap for tonight real quick. Some of the things that I connected with today was school choice, K through 12, what kind of education is truly needed for K through 12. As a workforce development expert, someone that does a great job recruiting employees for employers by increasing online applications, it's very important, like I always say, that young adults get their work skills up. So when we're talking K through 12, yes, you can go to any school, but what is the actual school teaching you? Are they preparing you with the skills that you need to graduate high school and provide yourself with a minimum middle wage class job? If the school is not providing that, regardless of where you go, you as a parent, you as a decision maker are still missing the mark. So you still got to do your research. What are the industries that are growing in America and what schools are actually providing those educational courses to include STEM, which I believe is science, technology, engineering, arts, if you will, and math. I say arts because you got to have the creativity. You just can't be a robot. You got to be able to have innovation, critical thinking skills, as it's cold out here in the Chi. Let's see, quality education, what is that exactly? When we talk about quality education, keep in mind, for some people of color, for not some people of color, for people of color, 200 years ago it was illegal to even learn how to read. So here we are now advocating and debating about school choice. So with that being said, we've come a long way because I'll say this, a African student that was attending TSU told me, I was at a community event and she said, I'm coming from Liberia or Nigeria with all due respect, and she said, keep in mind, no matter what, African Americans have the highest education of the African diaspora in the world. So we're looking to the African diaspora to be the leaders when it comes to the African diaspora, to be the leaders when it comes to education for the African diaspora. And that really hit me because America is a country that does provide, at the minimum, free public education. And a lot of countries in the world are not able to provide that. And so we have to take advantage of free public education at your public school or any school. But as a parent and a guardian, you want to make sure that you're choosing a school that provides the work skills that your child is going to need to receive at least a six-figure income. If you're going to play the game to win. Some of the illegal things that I just want to throw out there, I had a chance to connect with the chairman, Bill Orbendorf, and his whole focus is fighting for low-income communities. I know a lot of the game is about money, and that really, when he said that caught my attention, so I wanted to write that down. If you feel like that is an accurate statement or not, please leave a comment. But that's what the advocation was today. Let's see what else. Let's see. We want to take advantage. What are the advantages and disadvantages? Some of the things I thought about when I listened to everybody speak. What are the advantages and disadvantages of private schools and charter schools compared to your public school? Someone also stated competition works for the benefit of the consumer. And if you know me, I've always done videos about being producer-minded, and not only producer-minded, but producer-driven, physically providing for yourself and others as a business. And the statement said competition works for the benefit of the consumer. So I thought that was just very interesting for food for thought. Also, Miami-Dade County Superintendent is going to speak tomorrow. 70% of the students in Miami-Dade County in Florida attend schools out of their zone, and they're the leader, I believe, in the state at the minimum for math and reading. And so the superintendent is going to speak tomorrow. And another note that I took from this is this summit is not the place you go to, but the place you go from. And so for me, this was an opportunity to be able to connect with some really great people, meet some of the leadership, listen to some of the challenges, some of the perspectives to bring back to either side, because I'm in the heart of it all and I'm doing it in a professional manner to make sure that the people of the community receive the truth. And I assist in government, community, and business relations. And also Father Gregory Boyle, founder of Homeboy Industries in Los Angeles. Awesome story. And I'm, advocate of anyone looking to uplift any community, especially communities that have a lower socio-economic status. So this is Danavan Hylton. That's the end of day one. We're going to wake up in the morning. We just got in and check out the next day. Beautiful place in the Chi. Let's keep moving. Good morning. This is Danavan Hylton. It is bright and early. It's day 2 of the National Policy Summit held by the American Federation for Children. I'm running on fumes, 7-hour drive, and then spent a few hours once I got back in the hotel doing some administrative work for our business. And you gotta keep in mind when it comes to our communication and relationship management business, our sales and marketing firm, we're growing from a startup company, my wife and I, where it was 2 people, to a established company where now we're getting some regular contracts and we're able to subcontract our work to some great professionals as well. So it's a transition for us, and had some growing pains because I'm learning as I go. I did everything. My wife and I did all of our marketing communication services for our clients, the face-to-face representation, the event marketings, the digital marketing, the advertising, and all the services that we provide to get a message out. And so now we're in a position where I have to create systems to allow other people to get the job done for us. And it's growing pains because everybody has their perspective. So we're gonna get out here for day 2 and capture as much footage as we can. Looks like we got some promotional material. And I call it a blessing to be able to, if you know my story, and then have my trip paid for here in Chicago. Bright and early, everybody's up. It's great. Picture everybody. Voices for Change. Now it's a blessing because ultimately, if you know my story, looking to turn my business into a multinational corporation and serve as a multinational corporation and serve as a senior advisor to world leaders. It's a goal that I'm looking to do. And hey, good morning. And these are the little things that put me in a position to do so. And made some really great contacts. Back out in the Chi, bright and early. Made some really great contacts, and I have a great customer relationship management system. I use Copper. I'll put the link on there. Please sign the link on there. Please sign up through me so that I can get that affiliate money. But we use Copper, and I put in my Copper system. We also use BombBomb. Hylton Elite, we use BombBomb for our email marketing as well. Of course, Gmail, G Suites, but BombBomb, I'll put that link down there, and we provide video emails. I believe you have a higher click rate, 77% higher click rate when you have videos in your email. So we send out video emails. The writing is coming to an end, but I'll reach out to these guys and gals, and we'll build relationships. So let's get ready to get some breakfast. I like to just eat fruit in the morning, nothing too heavy on the stomach. Let's do it. Let's get a selfie here real quick. All right, let's do it.
Federal government, it's been years, many years after Little Rock 9, but federal government said we have to continue to desegregate schools, so we're gonna pick kids like his to go to Central. You know, Little Rock Central had been the focus of desegregation after graduate board education. We saw what happened with those kids when those kids went into Central, and I didn't want to go. I was like, oh, I want to go to the black high school. Y'all are crazy. You are not sending me to Central. And, but of course, my father had the final say so that wasn't even an issue. But my first day of school, I think, set the tone for who I became eventually. Daddy dropped us off at school. I have a twin sister, and he dropped my twin and I at Central in the front. And it's this huge, beautiful school. And all I saw was this huge, beautiful school and a lot of white kids. And I remember saying to him, I'm not getting out of this car. And he said to me, well, yes, you are. And of course, I knew I would eventually. But what he said was, you have a responsibility to go to Central and to do well. You have siblings. You have two sisters following behind you that won't be able to have access to quality education if you don't first go and do well. You know, and I thought, I was 14, and I thought, well, that kind of makes sense. And that has been the basis of my entire life. You know, if you're not going to do anything about it but sit around and complain, then nothing will ever change. And so you have I felt like I had a responsibility to make sure that not just, you know, my child or my siblings were able to have access to quality education. And I never thought about it that way until I got involved in school choice. You know, what they had said to me always resonated with my life, but I never thought about the fact that that was the beginning. That was when it started for me. So I was destined to fight for kids.
Wow, wow. When I began and when I started, you know, very small, just at the State House in Ohio, just talking about my experience, my mom and I coined this phrase that all of these people who were in this movement were fighting for me before they even knew who I was. And this is some, you know, some years ago. And so you briefly touched on
strong, be patient, you know, speak up, use your voice. You know, my whole mantra over the years has been use your voice. Use it intelligently, use it informatively, but use it. And, but be strong. I think this was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. You know, I was fairly young. And nobody told me how hard it was going to be. I thought I was just going to walk in there and say my piece and my child was going to be okay. And when it didn't happen that way, and I had to go back and speak again, and it still wasn't okay, and I had to speak again, and it still wasn't okay. I had to stay strong, stay righteous, stay strong, and stay true. And y'all are the same. You have a lot of wonderful people around you.
Is that for this movement? My name is Greg Brock, and I serve as the CEO for the American Federation for Children. I've been involved in this educational choice effort for the past 20 years, and as I'm sure you're well aware, one of the most daunting challenges that we've had to overcome is the obstruction of the forces within the education establishment who are seeking to preserve their grip on the levers of power for the system that they control. A few years ago, those
is amazing. So why don't you just give us an overview of your book?
Well, there's one giant, and I follow him, and that's who allowed us to fight this Goliath. So Standing Up to Goliath is a book full of testimonies, because testimonies is how we overcome, speaking that truth. So we expose the Goliath, who is really the only reason we have problems in our educational system. There's one reason: teachers' unions. And so they are that Goliath, and they remind me of Goliath because they are bullies. They are massive. They will not collaborate. They mock. They are destroying wholesome values. And we, these little teachers who were totally voiceless, just with faith, took them on. And so that's the basics of it, I guess.
Right.
American, start from top. Danavan Hylton with Shaka Mitchell, Director of the American Federation for Children. We are here in Chicago for the 2019 National Policy Summit. The Federation put together this educational event. Shaka, if you don't mind, we've connected before. I put some links on here of our past conversations. If you don't mind, what is going on today, and why is it important for residents of Tennessee, particularly Nashville and Memphis, to be aware of what's going on?
Yeah, so what we're doing here, and you can see it all going on behind us, we've got a few hundred people from around the country talking about parent choice and really how to get kids, especially kids in underserved communities, the education that meets their needs. And so that's going to look different in different cities, it's going to look different in different states. So we're trying to learn from one another, see what's working, kind of benefit from some positive energy in the room. Really important now because, as of yesterday, Tennessee has the newest parent choice program in the country.
Wow.
So that's for kids in Nashville and Memphis to be able to take advantage of education savings accounts to find a school that fits them.
I see. And this could be a question that's way advanced, but now that has passed, that bill, what should Memphis and Nashville residents start to think about as far as education moving forward?
Yeah, I think the things that parents in Nashville and Memphis should start to think is really just take a look at the school that your kid attends. The reality is the school that your child already attends may be working, may be doing a great job, and if that's, we want to say thumbs up to the great teachers and administrators who are doing the good work there.
Awesome.
But if the school is not working, I would say start to educate yourself, right? Start to look around what other options are in the area, and one of the things that this education savings account is going to do, it means that cost is not going to be a barrier anymore, because now parents are going to have, over $7,000 per child per year to contribute to the cost of an education. So that's big. That's real money.
Huge. That's game-changing, Shaka. Thank you so much for your time. If folks want to find out what's going on online, where can they go?
Yeah, you can go to our website. It's schoolchoicetn.com.
Awesome. I'll make sure I put a link down there. I'm going to switch hands, shake your hand. Congratulations for all your hard work. You're young professionals, inspiring for all of us to see.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Bye.
All right, so we're getting ready for lunch. Again, as best you can, you want to make sure you get to the front. Getting ready for the lunch program. So far today, for me, some of the things that I've had a chance to think about during the conversations of the National Policy Summit is, obviously, is your environment that influential? Because the whole point of this conference is to ensure that there's quality education. And so some say that the environment to receive quality education is not there for everyone. And so one of the biggest things that I hear is a quality educational environment. And so how influential is an environment, not only for education, but also to live in, to grow up in? Obviously for a quality educational environment, that means you may have to have a different curriculum or different leadership. How far does that go? Let's see, some of the things that caught my attention. Heard a lot about unions as well. That's a new one for me, but got to look deeper into unions and their leadership and how there can be a win-win for the children on that as well. Collective bargaining is another keywords that I've heard. as well. So later on today, we're going to focus on, if you can see here, we're going to focus on media and messaging, as well as getting some perspectives from the Democratic legislators, as well as getting real about grassroots and parent advocacy. So a lot of good information, a lot of food for thought, and we'll continue going with the day.
It's just as exciting. We're going to take the top advocates and candidates from the Voices for Choice through a leadership development and training program for 9 full months. As college students and recent graduates, they'll hear from the experts inside and outside of our movement on topics like grassroots engagement, communications and media, and policy. They'll attend events, conferences, and legislative debates all across the country. They'll design and execute their own grassroots plans, and ultimately, we hope they will consider continuing on as voices and leaders in the education reform movement as advocates, and maybe even work for some of you in this room so that we can build a pipeline of powerful voices for our cause. We call this the Future Leaders Fellowship Program, and I'm proud to introduce our inaugural class. Our 2019 Future Leaders Fellows are Walter Blanks, Samantha Jones, Kenya Green, Jacob Idra, Joy Taylor, and Ladiana Candelario. Please give them a hand. I know that these alumni of School Choice will become nonprofit leaders, CEOs, future secretaries of education, legislators, governors, and maybe even presidents someday. But when they are president, they will celebrate their school choice experience. Thank you all very much. Enjoy your lunch.
Now, remember what Bill Obendorf said last night, that in this district, of the kids who are educated by the taxpayers, over 70% do not attend their zone public school. Over 70%. Now, the majority of those choice kids do go to district magnets, but they also use taxpayer funds to go to charter schools, private schools. They use taxpayer funds to take virtual classes, college classes through dual enrollment. You have kids, students now in Dade County that are combining providers and delivery methods at the same time. If you want to see the future of public education, come to Miami-Dade and see it.
And hear some of the same narratives from people that are attacking reform through social media, through major communication. But actually, I don't agree that that's where the real action is. To be very honest with you, I need people walking into their chambers and their churches and their Christmas parties and sharing stories with each other, with their neighbors and in neighborhood associations and in social situations. That's where the real action is. And the one-to-one combat to me is like really being with your affinity groups, your family, and others. That's where I think the action is.
All right, so it's been a long conference. We're about 75% of the way done. And we just finished a seminar, if you will, talking about media and messaging, winning strategies, proven tactics, and empowering voices for freedom in education. I thought that was a very interesting conversation. Ultimately, like I went to the last conference last year in Oakland, was criminal justice reform. This conversation at this particular conference is about education reform. And so some of the things that caught my attention, let's see if I can find some. One of the questions I would like to know from you, as either a parent or guardian or someone that doesn't even have children, what is the current state of youth education in America? What are some of the challenges, what are some of the successes, and what are some of the things that we as a country as a whole need to think about when it comes to today's trends of education and technology and how that applies to our youth. Also, if you get a chance, please visit www.schoolchoicemythbusters.org, I believe. There's also a lot of, obviously, myths. Supposedly, I haven't seen it yet. I'm just writing down notes that I received that tackle some of the concerns about school choice. School choice, obviously, is very detailed in regards to its message. And one of the things that I did realize is, who is your audience and where are they in this particular question? So, come to find out, and I could be wrong with this, but not everyone are fans of teachers. Not everyone feel that teachers are, the greatest thing to this country. And there are parents and others, that are not satisfied. And I've always thought that, that everybody assumed that teachers were the best thing, but there are some underlying challenges. We talked about the top 1% and how the 1%, fund various initiatives. They always say follow the money. They also said that the power is telling the public what they don't know. The power is in telling the public what they don't know. It basically is what some of the advocates were talking about. So true power, and again, kind of like what I'm here doing, I'm praying I'm not shaking anything up. I'm just invited down, and my role in communication is to get the message out for you to make an educated decision. So if you didn't know about this, like I'm learning, this is a great opportunity to look into what I'm saying, see if there's any truth in it, and if there's not, to make sure that you're advocating, opposite direction. And also, how much weight and how much power does the traditional media hold? Traditional media, the news and traditional TV. And come to find out from experts, they don't hold as much power as they once did. There are various segments that you have to reach out to, and one of those segments are your traditional 55, 65-year residents and up, where a lot of times the point was brought out that a lot of times those residents can look at the media or newspapers and think they're just telling 100% the truth. And so where, maybe a younger generation may not think the same thing as far as media. So I'm not saying it's right, wrong, or indifferent. It's just various perspectives that I'm learning as far as when you even create a message, who is the segment you're talking to, and what message are you sending that particular segment? Let's see. There's also a lot of, from what I can see, a lot of challenges between advocates of full educational choice, and partial educational choice. And I see that there's a lot of challenges that need to be wrinkled out with those two segments. First of all, as I'm here just being a fly on the wall, some people say either you're totally free or not. You can't be partial education compared to full education. Again, I'm just giving you the information. Some of the advice that I've taken so far from this particular workshop when it came to media and messaging, winning strategies, power tactics, and empowering voices for freedom and education was get out, promote, and elevate the message to the people that are the most affected and benefit from the initiative. My community is predominantly African American. So my question is, as I'm new to this whole thing, how beneficial is choice education to my community that I serve? And I do serve this Hispanic community, the New American community, but, I traditionally reside in a more African American community. So, how are the people in the community that I serve most affected by the current educational system, and is there a benefit in school choice? I don't have the answer to that question. I'm just giving you the information. You want to make sure, I was told also to keep the message, talk to everybody, I was there, just took notes. Keep the message simple and continue to repeat the message. Stay true to your goal and your vision and know your audience consistently. Where can you find common ground and advance the positive message around that when it comes to your opposition? Where can you find positive ground and advance your message around that? The question really becomes, can America's children really have quality education? And I feel the education has consistently risen. Like I said, at one point there were certain individuals in this country that you received the death penalty when you were caught reading or teaching someone to read. So now we're at a point where our traditional education system is foundated. Now, how do we create a win-win for everybody, which is just another transitional phase. That's all this is. And through that, there's going to be changes that everybody will not like. That's why, anyone that goes into public office, works, that puts themselves in this position, it's a really tough job because you're going to have so many different perspectives, and now you're managing as one individual, as an elected official, a whole district or a whole territory, and that territory is going to be divided. And so I always put my hands on elected officials. I couldn't do it. I may do in the future, I don't know, but it's a lot that goes into it. And also, the last message that I saw that was given to me was, if you see something, say something, and learn when to raise the flag. And so keep those things in mind. You got to pick your battles. And we have 2 more stops to make. We're going to getting real about grassroots and parent advocacy. And then after that, we're going to have a conversation with Democratic legislators. And then we'll have our closing dinner with Keynote Education Secretary Betsy DuVos, who I'll connect with, and I'm sure grab a card, and we'll do a video pretty soon in Washington. So the goal for our company Hylton Elite, just to become educated on, the current trends of education reform and how we can use our skills and solutions in relationship management and communication to help the public and private sector connect to diverse communities. Right now in Middle Tennessee, eventually assisting in Memphis, and helping the diverse communities and diverse markets connect to the public and private sector. And I can really see a contract opportunity here. If not, I'm here just advocating because I'm, biblically, don't worry about your daily bread. You do what you're supposed to do. You put your work in, and are you not more important than the birds and the bees, and as far as them, they getting their daily bread. So I do want a contract. We do want a contract, but that'll come in time, I'm sure. So we're going to go into our last few events, and we are pretty much rolling on fumes as we're having a good time. Shout out to the Shy, right out here. Trump Towers is right across the street. NBC is right behind us. I don't know if I have time to, sightsee. I'm taking care of business, and I want to come back with the family. Beautiful place. For the record, I've been here for maybe 18 hours, and I want to say 11 people probably didn't say, "Hey, are you Scottie Pippen?" So we'll throw it out there as well. So it's a great place, great city. Let's keep going. All right, family. So I have to do it. We're going to shoot downtown for a quick second. We're leaving the Lowe's Hotel behind me. Beautiful day. Can't beat it. So right across the street, we have NBC, which is cool. Beautiful view. Just a beautiful, beautiful place. I'm looking for Trump Towers. Just a great, bustling city. Beautiful place. I love the energy. I'm not sure what the rules are in jaywalking out here, but we're going to jaywalk real quick. Supposedly we're shooting over the Trump Towers real quick. Huge fan. Since I was a young child, I always told myself if I ever went to New York, Chicago, Las Vegas, I would stop by Trump Tower and right across the street, and what do you know? Trump Tower. So we're gonna stop by, check it out, capture the energy, and get back up in here. It's cold. Wow. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Again, thank you to American Federation for Children for paying for my trip to come down here. Where is this place? It's cold. Wow. Let's keep looking. And I could tell just on a beautiful day, just on GP, look at that. So Nashville, we have a river, and I can really see the river, being something of this nature. This is such a huge scale city, third largest city in America, I believe. We're shooting over here, Trump Towers. We're gonna swing through real quick, see what kind of business we can rustle up. But this is such a huge scale. Now I come from Los Angeles, Southern California, so this is not surprising, but at the same time, I think this is larger than Los Angeles. And I'm looking at, for Nashville and our downtown, our urban core development districts, and looking at the streets, I'm noticing each lane you may have 3 lanes going per direction. I don't know if we have the infrastructure that can fit all this. Obviously it's a different bird, but I think we can come close. But this is huge. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Beautiful city. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and put this down. When we get to Trump Towers, we'll turn this thing back on. It's freezing. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Challenging everybody. Step your mind up. Step your mind up. This world is going. This world is moving. And it's waiting for you, waiting for me to contribute our part. Let's do it. So, one thing that I do notice from everybody walking is everyone is respectful of the street lights and the law, the street lights and the law, and no jaywalking and all that. So I think that's pretty cool, because this city here, you got to be on the same page as far as respecting, the walkability around here. It's a serious business. Beautiful. Check that out. So I really claim into existence soon, opening up an office here for this region of the U.S. One of these offices here. We got one in Nashville, opening one in the UK. I claim and receive that. We're going over to Trump Towers, and we're going to do some great things in this city. We really are. I can see it. And let's keep going. Let's do it. Beautiful, beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Heading over to the Trump Tower now. Okay, so we're just leaving the gift shop. Here's Trump Towers, beautiful place. And the first thing I noticed when I walked in was the unique smell. Very unique, distinguishing Davonair smell. And actually, in this gift bag here, we have the actual scent that's in the Los Angeles, Chicago, and New York hotels. This is the actual candle that's in here now. And these are the only scents. It's a very specific scent for these hotels. None of the resorts like Miami have that smell. And so now I'm able to bring back the smell of the Trump Tower to my wife as far as the gift, because I would not be here without her. So I had to come in and make sure that we got her something nice. Take it easy, thank you. And so thank you. Thank you, sir. Guys, take it easy. So we're good. Gonna get a picture. And like I said, really see our firm opening up an office downtown here in Chicago. Really see us opening an office here. This is definitely a market we want to get into, and Chicago is definitely a market that does a lot more business and reaches a lot more territory, obviously, than Chicago. A lot of multinational corporations are right here, and being an individual that wants to run and own a multinational corporation and serve as a senior advisor to world leaders. These are the type of game boards and pieces that we have to play as far as Hylton Elite Marketing Agency. So, how y'all doing? And so it's very inspiring to come down here. Had to get something for my girl, partner in crime, and we're gonna head back to the hotel. Beautiful place. As you can see, they have some office space for lease here. So I'm already claiming it. We're gonna move. As you can see, we already spoken to existence. So right there, we're claiming it. We're gonna get a spot here. We're gonna open up and be, if not the, one of the largest leaders when it comes to sales and marketing and connecting the diverse community to the public and private sector and vice versa worldwide for a number of different reasons, to include workforce development, business development, urban core development, and international business development. So these are the games that need to be played. And there's NBC down there. Wow, pretty cool. It's freezing though, so let's get back to the hotel.
Right, in this investment band of my investment, who am I going to follow? Right? So the first thing is, if we want to have diverse people in the legislature, when I was in 2000, I don't know what year it was, I decided that when I looked across the room and I saw that the only people in that Senate, in those Senate chambers, were either rich white men or old retired people, right? There were no young people, very few. There were very few working class. I was very blessed that the bank that I worked for paid me my full salary and the entire time. So I had the opportunity to work and to be there, right? But half of my colleagues are people who would have wanted to be African American, smart people, people who would support this issue. They can't afford to. And so that is one real thing that we just don't talk about. Now, for me, because of my business background, I was again blessed. I had a diverse campaign, call firm. I had mostly business and industry because I believe in creating environments for business so that my constituents could have a job, all right? And so I think money is a big issue, and we need to think through that when we're talking about why aren't they helping or why aren't they voting for this. I've heard that if I do this, I'm not going to get reelected. My constituents are not going to elect me. Well, that's just not the case, as we can see, because once our constituents understand why we are doing what we're doing and why we are voting the way we're voting, right, then they're going to support us because it's all about them. I've had colleagues when when I go back into my district and I hold meetings and I just let folk know why I voted the way I voted. Or why I take a position on a certain thing, especially reform. I've had constituents from other representatives in senators' districts to call me. How do I get one of them scholarships? Give me your name. I'm gonna connect you with your state rep. Or I'm gonna connect you with your senator, and you ask him, how do you get a scholarship? And so, but in order to reach those people, they have to have resources. So we have to think about that in this movement. If we're going to have a diverse legislature that does care, because I think at the end of the day, most of our colleagues want the same thing we want. They don't want to have bad schools. They don't want their constituencies to be in poor performing schools. And so I think that's, that's another issue that we have to deal with because I think that is the driving issue, money, and their ability to either get elected or get reelected. Yeah.
How I voted, what's the result, and make sure that they're educated, because no matter how much money, and I've been opposed 3 times out of my 4 times that I have run. And one time it was 2 former representatives because of redistricting, so the union I know had something to do with it, to put both of them. So you have 3 signs in the communities all saying re-elect. And so they're like, Representative, how can they have re-elect? I said, hey, it's a political thing. But knowing that, and and also getting the support of those organizations like AFC and some of the others, but I know still, when you start talking about union and all of the forces, they have the phone bank, they have people going out in the community, knocking on doors, they're sending out mailers, and this is what was hitting me all at one time. And but because I'm always active, even when I'm not in session, most of the people say, oh no, all that stuff that they saying, it could be all true because she's always constantly communicating with us. Then I do a lot of community events in my district as well. So a combination of those things is kind of kept me to be able to survive, all of this time. But it is a challenge.
That is.
Okay, so this is the closing reception. Things are coming to an end. Just left a very interesting, I feel, controversial conversation, especially when it comes to African American Democratic legislators and their perspective on school choice. Again, I'm learning this whole process, but there were some Democratic legislators up there giving their perspective. Supposedly school choice, and I'm learning, is more of a conservative perspective, and it's something that President Trump is supporting, so that already throws a lot of people off. So, very interesting conversation. But some of the things that were mentioned when it came to African American Democrats, and again, I'm the messenger, so this is very, very tricky conversation, was it boils down to money, and unions are primary donors. And so when you are someone that's receiving your primary dollars, from a union, then technically you have to, not have to, but it's be wise to continue to support and follow the direction of those unions, especially if you want to get reelected, especially if you're going to receive the money for your campaign. And I say these things with all due respect as I try to stay in my lane. So, but ultimately, the legislators that were on the panel said you have to support good ideas, no matter the party. You have to be able to cross party lines to truly make change. If one is just saying, I'm not doing it because, it's this brand or whatnot, that's really not the best choice. And this goes for all parties, not just any party in particular. And if we don't support good ideas, what's going to end up happening, as it continues to be, it's going to be a build-up and a tear-down. So this term, you have the Republicans leading it, so they build this up. Then the next term, the Democrats are leading it, so they tear that down and they build this up. And it goes back and forth, and you really don't get nothing done, as I'm just the messenger here. So how do you cross the party lines to be able to build a working relationships? Another fun fact, I don't know how deep this is, and again, this is nothing in particular, but a statement was said that if you actually connect with a lot of the African American Democrats, legislators, you'll find out that a lot of them went to private school or their children are in private school. And, if that were the case, then other children that have a grandmother and the mother has 3 kids, the grandmother has 3 kids they're supporting, and they can't afford, all 3 to go to a higher quality school, that the ESA, if you will, educational savings accounts, would allow a student or children of the household that are in a priority school or a felon school, or even in a rough environment where there's gangs and rape and different things like that, they're able to get out of that area, go to a school. One of the legislators said that they lost their father through a robbery because the kids were out of school because it was a priority school or something of that nature, and they were out of school, and end up taking her dad's life, where if they had went to a school that was, a good fit for them, it may have been a different story. I don't know if these are all selling points. I say these things with due respect, but I'm just giving you the information, as this to me was a very important topic, because when I'm looking at this whole thing, I'm looking at where's the diversity piece come in. There's a lot of people that are not my skin color here, but what do the people of my skin color really say? What's really going on? How, is this just a situation where you're putting up a person of my skin color at the poster to say it's for ESA, but it's a school choice, but it's a larger agenda? People of color have been through that before, and so people are skeptical. So where is the true buy-in from the so-called African American community, and how genuine is it, and from any other community at that matter, as I'm representing a community that is, I think, 78% African American, where I'm coming from. And so, it's tough to go against the grain. A lot of the legislators that were talking said, when I decided to speak and advocate and support, the school choice, I got a lot of backlash from my people. I was a sellout. The unions came after me, and so there is a huge risk, if you are possibly someone not in favor of school choice. So sorry. Not in favor of school choice, because, you still want to continue to stay in office or be seen as a team player. So some good stuff here. I'm overwhelmed. I'm not even gonna lie. I'm overwhelmed. Come to find out, if I'm building relationships, there are legislators from the city, state, and federal level from all over the country here. We have educational professionals. We have educational advocates here. Religious church, faith-based organization leaders here. Really, how do you navigate this thing? That's the question. This is what I see. A lot of passionate individuals. Can we come together and find a solution for the children? Because again, with all due respect, as we go through this great country, this country is looking to push able-bodied individuals to get to work. And we have to get to a point where the children, with me, my background, I served as an admissions representative at a college, served as a director of admissions at a career college, served as a director of marketing for a staffing company, and now I run my own sales and marketing business. So I would say I have some input when it comes to workforce development, employment, and how education plays a role, and when it comes to the trends of employment and industries moving forward. So I would say, as there's not going to be as much assistance from the government and more able-bodied workers, you have to have a school system that's able to prepare the students for the higher skilled positions that are coming in this country, because keep in mind, technology is growing, and most of the lower skilled, lower wage positions are going to be taken over by technology. That's going to just be the situation. And so if your skills are on the lower skill side, then you're going to be in a tough position, or I'm going to be in a tough position. So what I'm going to have to do is learn higher skills, and that's another question. That's another question that we have to get into, or another challenge, because we say, well, I need to get my work skills up, but I don't have transportation. The bus is not running at a certain time. I don't have childcare. There are a lot of challenges that can hinder individuals to get the proper educational training that they need to be able to get to a higher wage income job. And so that's why it's very important, K through 12, that we're training children the right way at the very beginning. No matter what school you go to, no matter what private, whatever geographical location, it's important that we get those skills up for the individual, for the children, so that they can bypass spending additional money after they turn 18 for work skills development. And let's see. Just from, like I said before, we get ready to talk to Secretary of Education, Betsy DuBose. Basically, I do see a true initiative or a movement happening here, and there's a lot of individuals involved in this thing, and it is crossing party lines from what I can see. So we're going to go, like I said, we're running on fumes for the most part. Beautiful place, beautiful city, beautiful conference. I'm glad I'm here. I hope this information is something for you to think about. As again, my job is to deliver the message for you. So let's go ahead and continue to enjoy the moment. right, so we are heading to the dinner, and that is it. Getting ready to connect with Education Secretary Betsy DuBose, and naturally, goal is to shake her hand, but naturally, schedule time to connect with her in Washington. Not now, but manifest for the future, conceive for the future. Let's do it.
Outreach Director for the American Federation for Children. And I have the distinct honor to be introducing tonight our first keynote speaker. She is the wife of a courageous young leader who is facing real challenges in real time. Her name is Beatriz Rosselló.
Was a man with a firm convictions, but with respect towards others, he defended them. I extend our deepest sympathy to his family. First of all, I would like to thank this invitation of the American Federation for Children 10th National Policy Summit, and thank you for the kind words granting my husband the School Choice Policy Maker of the Year. Thank you so much. I humbly stand before you to receive this recognition that you are giving our people, because this is for our people and for the hard work regarding our public education system in Puerto Rico. So on behalf of Ricardo, I would like to thank the American Federation for Children Board and Directors for this award, for all the outstanding work you are doing to bring children choice and better education. I will also like to thank the Secretary Betsy DuBose for your continuously support for the education system in Puerto Rico. You have been helpful friends to build a strong education for the future of our children. As you all know, Hurricane Maria destroyed our infrastructure and many of our schools. It's the saddest day for our people on September 20th of 2017. Obviously, at that moment, the reconstruction of our schools and the need of our students was the priority, but still today is our priority. That's why the vision and the mission that we have ahead with our students, the main reason of our reform and the implementation of the public policy as a north. That's our north, because that's the future of Puerto Rico. We are talking about 300,019 students in our education public system who need the transformation and recuperation progress as its best. Also, Puerto Rican Department of Education is the largest employer of our island, and our educators are our biggest assets. And as a result of our teachers have been promised with a very expensive and specific reform package, with a pay raise after 10 years, with career ladders opportunities, and no job loss, among other considerations. But the main actors of our students, from who we have eliminated unnecessary spending to better allocate resources. We have established regional education offices, expanded education opportunities, and also improved partnerships with charter schools. And that's why in 2018, we enacted Puerto Rico's first school choice program that we will be launching in 2019 and 2020.
thrilled to be a part of this organization that believes in more freedom for families across America. We're so happy to have you here in Chicago for our 10th annual National Policy Summit. You could say it's our 10th inning, but don't take that to mean that we're anywhere near the end of our work. On the contrary, we're going to continue to push for bold expansions to help the millions of families across this country who have been denied access to the education of their children. And they were not able to join Lee Barfield on the stage. Shaka, Jan, and Gillum, tremendous work getting the new education savings account passed. And a special thanks to the late Pastor Montgomery, who passed away in 2017 and was a titan of our Tennessee efforts for so many years. And I absolutely want to thank John Kirtley. By the way, what a great job did you do at lunch today? Oh my God! I made a choice. And what I love about her is her vision, her focus, her courage, and she never gives up. She is my hero. Tonight we're going to have a conversation with Secretary DeVos, led by a teacher. Her name is Kate Hardiman, and she's a teacher right here in Chicago. She writes regularly for the Washington Examiner on education issues, and will also get her master's in education at Notre Dame in June, and will be attending Georgetown Law School's evening program. I don't know when she sleeps. So let's give a warm welcome to Kate Hardiman and our 11th Secretary of Education, Betsy DeVos.
And good evening. I'm so humbled to be on this stage tonight, and also just to recognize the combined wisdom in this room. I'm very new to this movement, but it truly is my passion, and I know that so many of you have devoted your entire careers to it. So I would like to give you all a round of applause, and also for Secretary DeVos for her 30 years of work. So I know that the majority of people in this room are your friends, your former colleagues, or your current colleagues, and so let's talk about some of your current work. I'd like to start with your Education Freedom Scholarship proposal, and just really interested to hear how this policy will play out in the state. So we know that data from your department shows us 8 million families move districts just for their school, and the American Federation for Children poll shows us that almost 60% of families wish that they could have an option other than their district school. So what is your vision for how this proposal could play out in the states?
Well, thanks, Kate, first of all, for agreeing to do this with me this evening. And I just have to start by saying I feel like I'm home. Some of you know that I was not technically able to really interact with most of my long-term friends and associates for 2 years. It was a long time. So I feel especially happy and thankful to be here this evening and to be able to spend this time with you. And especially excited to be talking prospectively and on the side of moving forward on things that we can accomplish at the federal level with the Education Freedom Scholarships proposal, which I know that for most of you probably attended the session with Jim Blue and Mackenzie Snow talking about the details of the proposal. But in general, this, if we can get this adopted, and if a majority of members of the House and the Senate ultimately support this and it reaches the President's desk, this will mean a tremendous momentum change for education freedom and education choice across the country. I cannot predict exactly how it will play out at every state, and I cannot also predict whether there are some states that would say, no thank you, we're going to turn down millions of dollars of donated money because we really don't want to help children. I can't imagine that. I can't fathom that. And so I really have a lot of optimism that the more we are able to do really one-on-one diplomacy with those who will ultimately have to make a decision to cast a vote in favor of helping kids get better educations, that we're going to be able to help paint pictures that will show them why this is so important for the kids in their states that they represent. And I know we're going to talk a little bit about what some of the possibilities are, and Jim and Mackenzie probably have as well. But I think those of us who've worked long in the education freedom movement, I think have also been convicted of the notion that we need to talk much more broadly about what choices can mean and can be for kids. And so the kinds of programs that states could offer, depending on their geographic needs, their demographic needs, and what's missing in their state for the kids that they serve, I think really there are limitless possibilities that could be adopted as a result.
This kind of national media malaise surrounding choice.
Well, I have to say, I think some of the audiovisual pieces that AFC has put together are really, really great steps in the direction that needs to be taken. We need more of them, and the Voices for Choice, the students that I've had the opportunity to meet, you are the best marketers and salespeople for what we are trying to do. And I applaud AFC for really embracing this and doing it in a really professional and well-done way. And I was also thrilled to meet some folks here who are working on really grassroots parental organizations. We know that parents that want something different for their children often aren't even aware of the possibilities. And so the effort to really engage them in a new and meaningful way and to help them be part of something bigger is another really important way to continue to build the support for this at the level that's most important, and that is the parents who simply want something more for their kids.
Right, absolutely. And it seems that could potentially be a bridge building avenue to build more support for EFS.
Well, absolutely. There are so many opportunities. We know that there are over 7 million jobs today that are going unfilled that require some kind of education beyond high school, but not necessarily a 4-year university degree. And there have grown so many silos over the years between K-12 education and then community colleges and career and technical education and 4-year college and university. We need to be a part of really tearing those silos down and acknowledging that learning needs to be lifelong. And this is truly an opportunity for the private sector, for employers and businesses to engage in education in a way they haven't been for decades. And the places that I've visited where they are starting to get this and do this well, it's very exciting to see how the students that I've met are so excited about their opportunities. And just a couple of weeks ago, I went to a signing day in Hamilton, Ohio. It was at a high school called Butler Tech, which is a career and technical center for a number of high schools in the region. And this school has existed for 40 years. They were well ahead of all of this career and technical education discussion, but the leadership there noted how important it was and is to support and acknowledge the significance of the achievements that these students have made. So they're graduating high school. They have all been in some kind of an apprenticeship for the last couple of years, and they are signing with employers to go into full-time jobs immediately upon their graduation. But they have a signing day, much like athletes do when they sign to go to some, four-year college. And it was a really important celebration for each of them and for all of them. And the employers that have been involved with this are so invested in how the school does things for students, and they are really truly partners with the educators. And I think that is one of the important keys for really helping to advance career and technical education opportunities, is breaking that barrier that has existed between educators and education and then the rest of the world. Because employers know what they are going to need, and they know what's going to be ultimately relevant for students to learn. And students are ultimately more excited about their learning when they have something actually tangible and relevant to shoot for. If I could just add on to that. So one of the things that we have encouraged those who are considering supporting the Education Freedom Scholarships Initiative to think broadly about is, if a state has, is a more sparsely populated rural state, and they have some specific needs to really boost up opportunities in career and technical education and or apprenticeships. These are really significant areas that they can begin to think about adding educational choices to a menu. And so we don't want anyone to think very narrowly about education choice as being defined as the media always wants to define it, as vouchers. Vouchers. We need to have people think much more broadly, because there's so many different ways that kids' educational needs can and should be met, many of which haven't even been considered. And you're involved in an entrepreneurship program to introduce kids to starting and building businesses. We need a whole lot more of that in the middle school and high school level, and that's a great opportunity and area to be explored and advanced as well.
Right, it's actually a national program, so if anyone's involved with schools, it's called NFTE or NIFTY, and it really gets kids invested in pitching and planning their own business plan. So I've just seen them, as you said, they really take ownership of it because it's something tangible, and they can recognize how important it is for their future. So just piggybacking off of your apprenticeship comment, what have you learned from other nations that really do professional apprenticeships well and expand it to include all types of students, not just those who are not college ready, as we often think of it in the US incorrectly?
I visited Switzerland the summer before last, and or maybe it was last summer, I don't know the time. But I think the Swiss model for apprenticeship is one that we have to pay a lot more attention to and learn a lot more about. Almost 70% of their high school students are working in some kind of an apprenticeship. And when we think of apprenticeships, I think we traditionally think of more maybe the construction trades, or we have a much more limited view of what apprenticeships are or could be. But I cite the fact that the CEO of UBS, one of the largest banks in the world, started as an apprentice in a bank. And this is just very normal in Switzerland. Why shouldn't that be normal here? I was talking to Lee Barfield at the table here about why shouldn't lawyers be able to start as apprentices in high school and cut out a bunch of years of formal education by learning alongside the best of the best? And why shouldn't doctors have the opportunity to apprentice earlier on? We have a lot of ways that we have approached education, both K-12 and higher ed, that really are pretty antiquated. And so introducing a lot more freedom into the K-12 system can ultimately push along a lot more creativity and change and innovation and bring education writ large into the 21st century.
Remaining civil in the face of really strong opposition.
Well, I have to say that I have definitely felt supported by so many people who are encouraging, and they'll, people that I don't know will come up to me and just say a word of encouragement, or they'll tell me that they've been praying for me regularly, and I can't tell you how much that means to me and how much that bolsters me. And I also, I grew up in a family, an entrepreneurial dad, and he always had a saying. He was very forward-looking, and he would always encourage me and my siblings to turn the page and keep moving on. And if something, unpleasant happened or you were thwarted in some way, he was always, well, just turn the page, start the next chapter, turn the page, and turn the page comes back to me quite regularly.
Thank you so much for taking the time to be with us tonight, and we're just very grateful for all the work that you do. So,
well, thanks for the work that you do, Kate. 14-year-olds, that's a good thing.
All right, guys, that is it. We are back at the hotel room. That is the conclusion of the National Policy Summit. Very educational, very inspiring. Met a lot of great people, and I'm grateful for the experience and the memories. So I hope this information serves you well, and that ultimately at the end of the day, a win-win solution can commence, because ultimately it's about the maximization of the country and the residents within the country, and as best as possible, a working relationship with all outside of the country. And so hope this information reaches you well. Again, share, leave comments, leave your thoughts, and with all due respect, let's all try to stay as professional as possible. As I wish you all all the best in your personal life, in your career. I'll put a link down here. Please click on our Cash App. We are a self-sustaining business, my wife and I, growing from a startup to a established business, and we need all dollars to make sure we can continue to do this full time. So click the link, donate whatever you felt this message was worth. Thank you so much. We're running on grace here, and peace and blessings to you all. Peace and prosperity to you all soon. Peace.